6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
International superstar, Miss buttabrocka.
You are now tuned in to buttabrocka on Transparency Talks Podcast.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. It's so good to see you guys. Listen, we have an amazing show for you today. But before I bring on my special guest, make sure you mark your calendars for Wednesday, March 11th. That is going to be the next BBR Indie Films screener/mixer that we're going to have the different panelists and everything. We're getting together all of our panelists now. We've had over 235 submissions, so we're narrowing all of that stuff down, and we will be announcing all of the filmmakers that got selected for that event. As you guys know, some of you do know that since you came to the last event, we've changed from bi-monthly to going quarterly now at those events, and we're going to have workshops in between. So stay tuned. You can find all our information at bbrindiefilms.com. But for the main attraction, he is a Grammy-nominated international recording artist, producer, and a writer. Can you guys please show some love for Chris Redding?
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
What's good? What's up, Butter B?
Oh, man, everything. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. It's such a pleasure, to sit here and, fellowship and talk about music and all the great things that's happening. So, yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I want to talk all about it. Can you tell everybody a little bit of background about yourself, and then we're going to get started.
For sure. For those who don't know, my name is Chris Redding. I am a new age ambient chant recording artist. And, I am an enthusiast for anything related to sound healing. I am neurodivergent. I identify as someone with ADHD and synesthesia. We'll get into that in a minute. I have a son on the spectrum, and he is my inspiration behind the music I create.
That's what's up. So where are you from?
I am from South Florida, and Palm Beach to be exact. And
Okay.
South Florida living. Where the sun always shines.
But I used to live in Tampa, and it would shine. That's true, but it would always rain at least
we
an hour,
get the rain too.
and so you just get used to it.
We definitely get the rain too. Yeah, for sure.
So let's take it from the beginning. How did you get into music?
Well, it's funny because ever since I was young, I always just the way I interpreted music was just very unique. When I would hear certain sounds, certain frequencies, I would kind of see colors in my mind and in visions, and it was just almost like these little movies that would play in my head when I would hear certain songs, and that kind of sparked the initial interest. I thought everyone kind of shared that same experience. And then when I realized that wasn't necessarily true, because I asked my friends, like, oh, you see like these bright colors? And they're like, what are you talking about? And so that kind of like inspired me to like wanting to know more and to explore more musically, and go through a journey of really learning how to play instruments and how to write and all of those different things. And so I would say around age, I don't know, like 13 or so is when I really started taking music seriously.
So you were self-taught?
Yeah, like it's funny because I never like I didn't go to like take any piano lessons or like any music lessons initially. It was just kind of like I always had like perfect pitch and I would just pick up keys. So
Mhm.
like playing in church and stuff, like I would hear what key a person is singing. I could like literally find it on the keys, and it was just kind of like just play. They would say play by ear, and it was just definitely like being able to find the actual key and tone of a person's voice on a scale just by hearing it.
Right. Wow. That's 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 gifted for sure. Because a lot of people can't do that at all. So okay. So when you started doing music, when did you say, you know what, this is something that I want to do for real, as a living?
Oh man, I think it started really early. As a teen, seeing some of the like the greats now, like in our time. So growing up, I was like really into hip hop. Still to this day, love hip hop and R&B. And seeing, especially seeing like young cats come on the scene, like Lil Bow Wow, like that was like crazy, like to see like a person like around my age like do what he did.
Right.
And of course, like listening to pop growing up, but also like a lot of like the classical music as well. I was really into like jazz and like I mean, listen to old school like jazz from the '70s, like Norman Connors, Herbie Hancock. Um, a lot of like like really like classic old school jazz and R&B.
Hmm.
So yeah, and obviously like I listen to classical music too as well. So just really tapping into like different genres
Right.
was something that was very important to me, like not limiting yourself to just like a particular genre, like really expanding your music vocabulary and your music, your repertoire, and listen to all types of music.
That was one of the things I would say as an artist, because I toured so much overseas, and so when I did my first album, when you see us, you typically think, oh, they're hip hop artists or they're R&B artists, and I wasn't given that. I was given a range of different sounds and things that I love to hear and everything. And
Hmm.
did you find that to be the case for you, where people would try to pigeonhole you into one category when you first started?
Absolutely. But I noticed it more when I made the shift to new age, because new age, like I grew up also listening to like Imogen Heap and um, just a lot of different like as you would call etc. music. Um, and a lot of people don't realize, but new age was really big in the '90s. I don't know if you remember songs like "Sail Away, Sail Away,
Yeah.
Sail." Mm-mm. Like all of that is like from the new age genre, and it was like for me, it just was like very colorful, and I noticed too a lot of the patterns with like references to sound healing and spirituality. I grew up in church. Gospel music was real big, and my family roots is actually from Nashville, which is no music city. And my great grandma, she was a founder of our church in like the early 1900s, and out of her church came the sacred seal sounds, which is like the steel guitar, early bluegrass. So I grew up listening to country music as well. So like all of like these different genres blending together was like the idea from a very early age. And I didn't like how like, there was like these musical barriers that was always set. Like I remember when I was in middle school, um I was these girls came up to me and they were like, "What type of music do you like?" And I was like, "Why you ask that?" It was like, "Cause you look like you don't listen to black music." And I'm like, What does that mean?" And they're like, Do you listen to what type of music you like?" And I was like, "Man, I listen to everything from the Hot Boys, Master P, No Limit,
Right.
to like anything you can imagine. Like I listen to all types of music, and I just never liked how people would kind of stereotype
Yeah.
the genres and just kind of make put you in your place, so to speak. And I always had the idea to defy that, and I got a chance to do that when as I in my late teens I started to you know produce music and to create my own music. But later on, I formed a band called Pangea, and Pangea uh, is like representing blending all the different sounds and genres and styles together.
Right.
So
That's dope. That's dope.
yeah,
So, congratulations on your 2026 Grammy nomination for The Colors in Your Mind.
yeah,
That's awesome.
which you
When
were a part of, by the way.
Yes, I'm excited about that as well. Can't wait to get up there to LA and
Yeah,
party with you guys
yeah.
and prayerfully, prayerfully we get it.
Yes.
When you first started experimenting with healing frequencies, did you ever imagine the Recording Academy would recognize your niche?
You know, not that really wasn't the focus. I would say it was more so of like when my son got his autism diagnosis. It was like I went into this really deep mode of like wanting to understand more and why. It started off with why. Why is he experiencing these symptoms of autism? And then I started really paying attention to like the characteristics. He would cover his ears, certain sounds would irritate him, and certain volumes and pitch noises would irritate him. And then so I really wanted to understand him more. And so I just started watching him and watching his patterns. And then and I would bring him into the studio. He would get very excited about it. I would play certain songs. He would have different reactions. And I started adjusting like the frequencies of like different, beats and sounds that I would play. And I noticed that his reaction would change. And so he has sometimes he'll have these episodes like where he has like meltdowns and he just cry because he's overstimulated with whatever the environment is at the time or whatever may be going on. And I experimented with playing like frequencies and tunes in 528 when he would have like these meltdowns, and I would notice like he would have an instant shift where he would be literally like on the ground crying, like kicking, screaming. And I would play the frequency, and his whole just aura would change. His facial, everything. He would calm down. He would pay attention more, make more eye contact with me, um, show more interest in communicating. And I just thought that was very powerful. And I said, I want to do something where it is all in this frequency, and I want to dedicate it to him. And that's how the colors of my mind. Originally, it was Visions of Sounds. I did an album before that. Visions of Sounds was just more like of me just really understanding his diagnosis and just like acceptance and celebrating just who he was and others like him. But the colors of my mind was really like it got really deep as far as like when it came to like the actual frequencies and the tones and being conscious of his listening experience and other neurodivergent listeners as well. So
I will tell you this: my nephew has autism,
mhm.
and I played during Christmas the whole album. When I say you could literally see a whole shift in him, and I was
Wow.
like, wow. I witnessed it for myself. So yeah, you're definitely onto something.
I would say, man, that's first of all, that's very humbling to hear, and thank you for playing it for him and letting him experience. And um, they say that babies and people on the spectrum, they go by a different frequency, higher frequency, and they can see things like spiritually. And I wanted to be very conscious of that. I wanted to make sure I went into the project with the purest intentions,
Mhm.
with my absolute heart on the line. And I felt in the process of creating this, I really felt I started to embody some of the things that my son experiences, like the overstimulation. It was times where I was, I got the idea to do it, and I was really excited and I was so happy, and then I just had this overwhelming, like, just feeling of like just being overstimulated, like all this pressure that is on me to do this.
Right.
And then I started feeling like, what if this is not a good idea? What if, like, do I really want to be this vulnerable? Do I really want to be this transparent? And I almost walked away from it. And but my wife, she encouraged me, like, this is something that is important. It's not going to just be for our son, and for you. It's going to be for people all around the world. And my thing is, like, when the album was complete, I was just overwhelmed by how it was received by so many people, like, all around the world.
Right.
I got a call from a parent in Argentina, and was just like, my son has schizophrenia, and I've been playing your music, and, like, he's just been calm. And I we want you to come here to Argentina. And she actually, one thing I always say, I just admire, is just a parent's will to fight for their child, and to fight, when no one else understands or maybe cares.
Right.
And this lady, she brought us out to Argentina, and I performed in the national government. She stood up in front of the national government, and she said, we need to do more about mental health access here in this country. And that was the most powerful thing. And I went there because I was just so moved by her, and
Right.
her love for her son. And that's why I do it. That's why I do this. I had another lady reach out. She said, my son is nonverbal, been playing your song, and now he's humming the lyrics, and he never speaks. And to me, that gave me chills, and it just made me feel humble, because it brought me back to just the mindset of, like, music is a gift, and is a powerful tool to heal, to inspire. And I think somewhere along the lines we forgot that as creators, and
Mhm.
we focus on a lot of the self gratification, and the accolades and all of these things. And it's never been about that. It's always been about, how can I use this to to inspire people, to heal them, to use whatever little power that I have
Mhm.
to serve. And that's what it's all about. All the accolades and the Grammys and stuff, like, that's cool, and that's great. It's great. It's good to feel that validation, but I feel like that this is something that is bigger, um, that goes beyond just music. It speaks to our hearts and to our minds as individuals, and our humanity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's powerful. Definitely powerful. So you also documented and created and won a Telly Award recognition for best social impact film.
Yeah, yeah. So we did a short documentary, just a short, talking about the experience, and my son and the connection. And it was received, man, very well at the Telly Awards. And We're just so thankful for that because I never imagined that I would be into film. That never was a idea of mine, but it was just like after the album was done, it was just like, man, I gotta tell this story. People have to see this. They have to understand what this is about. And we did it, and man, it was a blessing, and it was it was most of the clips we shot were from the iPhone,
That's
and it was just raw, man, raw and just real. And and I think that that is the type of content people want to see. They want to see the authenticity in what you do and the passion behind what you do. And with this, it's just been so easy for me to show that because this is everyday life for me,
right,
even my family. So
right.
yeah,
In your journey with ADHD and neural, how you pronounce it,
neurodivergence. Yeah.
neurodivergence, was there ever a time you felt these labels were a barrier before you realized they were your superpowers?
Oh, absolutely. I got diagnosed at 13 years old, and it was really innovative for my mom to do that. But because at the time, especially in the black community, labels and stuff, you were kind of like told, like, don't let them label you, and stay away from these labels and all of these things like that. But it was like, in a way, it was. I kind of felt like we got pushed into it, but it also I kind of felt like it really worked out for our good because at the time I was in school, I was a smart kid, but I had so much going on in my mind, like musically. I would go literally to the class and I would just be on the desk, and like it would cause a disturbance. Like I was the kid drumming on the desk and
Yeah.
making music on the desk. And what was funny was I didn't know it then, but I realized that in order for me to retain information, I needed to hear it in rhythms.
Hmm.
And so I would literally sit there and like everything the teacher was saying, I was listening to, but I just had to have a pattern of how I received the information. And it was funny because the school was just like, listen, like he's not a bad kid, but it's just causing a disturbance. So we need to understand what's going on, and he needs to get evaluated.
Right.
And when my mom came to me and said that, I was like, man, like I'm not crazy. And she's just like, no, it's not people thinking you're crazy. It's just that we just need to know how to, accommodate your learning style. And so we agreed to get to see a neurologist and to get the diagnosis. And at that time, ADHD was just like, okay, you're a Ritalin kid, you're out of control, and that was kind of the stigma. But when I got the diagnosis, man, it opened up a whole world for me because I was able to get a IEP plan, which is like a group of professionals that come together to make sure that you graduate and you're on track. And I needed that because it was just like in my mind, it was just so much going on, like the music, and then I got involved into the band, and then it just kind of like I was able to get the music out with the band, and it helped me those extracurricular activities, and it just was a huge shift for me in school. Like I went from getting kicked out of class all the time,
Right.
being disruptive, to starting to really excel in school. And so that was a part of my journey, and it really helped me, and it helped me to focus, and it helped push me into wanting to starting to produce. I started producing at like 14, 15, and I had a car. I sold my car to buy a keyboard, and I started producing, and making beats. And that that changed my life a lot, saved my life a lot too. Yeah, music
That's when you
definitely. saved my life.
Right. Now that's when you could buy cars now for like 500, 600
Yeah, back in the
dollars
day.
back in the day
Well,
now.
yeah, well, you know what's funny? Because my sister, she gave me her car. It was like a, broke down car. And I was like, man, I was like, am I gonna sit here and keep having to fix this car over and over? I'm gonna just sell it, get a little bit of money, and go buy this keyboard. And that's what I did. I caught the bus, man. Caught the school bus for the rest of the year, and got that keyboard. And I was to rush home and be just doing beats, man.
That's determination. I feel you. I
Yeah.
definitely understand. So we have a question from one of the audience. They want to know, how do you balance your ADHD when taking care of your sons, and do you use your mute and do you use music to help you focus as well?
Yeah, so music does help me to focus. Like if I'm writing something, putting together a plan, strategizing, the music it kind of just ushers in this creative um just train of thought for me. Like especially if I'm in a stump, like I go back and I just start listening. I just listen to music, and then that's when the ideas come. Um, but for my son, as far as my son, he's taught me a lot because and about patience. You
Mhm.
know, like before, my characters, my personality as an ADHD person was I was very impatient. I just wanted to hurry up and get to the end. And I wanted, and because I saw it in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can do this, I can do that. I want to just get to that part. And I would sometimes rush through things. And then people would say, like, you're not taking it serious because you're rushing through it, or I didn't really take that time to like really form the genuine connection. But with my son, like seeing him in a way that he interprets things, like it makes me, because he has some of those characteristics
Mhm.
where he may want something but he can't communicate it, so he'll go just grab it, and in the process he might like knock over all this other stuff and make a mess. And so I'm like slowing down, like, no, this is how you ask for this, Christian. If you want more, you show me the sign language more. And you could tell, like, he at first he would get frustrated with, like, "Ugh, I don't want to go through all these motions. I just want to get the thing because I can't tell you that's what I want." But now it's taught me to, like, okay, slow down, look, pay attention to the process and, the things that are leading up to this, and then just you show patience in that moment.
Mhm.
So it's allowed me to be more patient, and to in understanding that way, um which is huge for me because I go at a lot of different things. I have so many ideas. Living with ADHD, I mean, you wake up with ideas all the time, like creatively, musically, just things I want to do in the house. Like, okay, I want to paint this, I want to do this, and then I want to create this beat. And it's like you try to cram all that at one time. And then what ends up happening is you get excited about all these projects and then you crash out because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like a pattern. So I had to like, just kind of get some perspective and change my focus there. And music has allowed me to help kind of prioritize things, and like, okay, again, seeing things in rhythms, like in a pattern. Like, I'll do this today, I'll do that today, I'll do that tomorrow. You feel me?
Yeah, I definitely feel you. I ain't gonna lie, I might have a touch of ADHD myself because I'm constantly thinking of things and always gotta do this, all these different things. And sometimes it does it's so much that I'm thinking that it does become overwhelming at times, and I'll shut all the way down, which I
Mm.
didn't understand. So I might for real.
Hey, it's never too late to go get that diagnoses. I have a lot of friends since I've been talking about neurodivergence and neurodiversity, have hit me up and like, yo, watching your content, like I made me want to go get diagnosed, and like I found out that I'm on the spectrum, and again, it's a spectrum. So, which means that autism and ADHD and neurodivergence can look like many different things, right?
Mhm.
But my son he's nonverbal, um, he's non-speaking. He doesn't use words, but he communicates through sign language and things like that. But then there's me. Like I'm ADHD. I'm verbal. I can all these things, but it's just some things with how I plan and how I like just retain information.
Wow.
There's some things there that have been challenges, but the good thing about ADHD and why neurodivergence is so is important and awareness is important is because individuals that are neurodivergent need to number one, they need to get diagnosed, and they need to understand their patterns and their unique style,
Mhm.
because it can help mitigate a lot of like stress, things that patterns, trauma patterns in your life. And it helps you to just kind of design your life the way you need it to be to function so you can be successful.
Right.
And that's what I've done. Like it was very hard for me, growing up to have a typical job, because I would go to the job and want to be creative, and they would say, "There's no room for creativity. Just do it like we said."
Right.
So I knew I had to work in the creative space, and I
Yeah.
knew I had to like eventually work for myself, because I said, I can't. It's very hard for me to kind of exist in these spaces, because eventually I want to get creative, and I see things, and then some things are just execution, and you know some and other things you can be creative with. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a lot of creatives on the line and on our live, and they can absolutely relate. So I
right.
feel you. So your album hit number one on iTunes. What do you think that says about the current globe need for music like yours, uh, that prioritizes mental health over commercial trends?
Yeah, I think we're in an interesting time. Like
Yeah.
I think we're in the day of authenticity. People want to know the real story.
Yep.
I could have just put out. I'm a producer. I've worked with a lot of great artists and big names, and but I could have put out something just hot. That's just for the sake of it being hot. But I was like, nah, I want this to be an experience. I want people to be this to be a journey. People to understand
Hmm.
themselves better, to understand me, to have a conversation. And I think mental health has been a conversation for a good little minute now, but it's been very broad.
Right.
People say, mental health and mental illness, mental awareness, but what does that mean, right? What when we really talk about, is it trauma? Is it, neurodivergence, which is, I believe we're born a certain way, and our brains, just like how we have our own unique look and design, on the outside,
Mhm.
our color, and all of these things, hair texture, same things neurologically. I believe that our brains are are designed, um and it's for a reason, right? Yeah, maybe the purpose of creativity, maybe for the purpose of mathematical purposes. I know a lot of great autistic individuals. They like how I see color sounds with colors. They see things associated with numbers, or sounds associated with numbers, and they see things from a mathematical perspective. um, I'll tell you a quick story. My son Christian, one time I took him to the playground, and I was trying to put him on this like jungle gym type thing, and he was just like fighting me. He didn't want to get on it, and I was like, "Why? What you scared for?" And he was just like pulling away. No, no, I don't want to get on it. And I said, "I'll show you. There's nothing wrong with it." And as soon as I stepped on the thing, it collapsed.
Mm.
And I'm like, he knew that.
Yeah.
He knew that. And, you know, yes, do I think neurodivergence is a superpower? Yes, but I also think that is a disability as well. And it's important that we say that because you don't want to be held of by certain standards of society when you were never designed to fit that mold.
Mm.
You know, you don't want that type of pressure. And I've endured that.
Yeah.
And that's why having these conversations are important. You know,
Sure.
some people are not designed to work in a traditional work environment,
I know.
workspace.
I know I'm not. I love
Some people excel better at being
2007.
remote.
Yeah.
You know, they get more work done when they're in remote. Why? Because they need to be confined in their space. They need to build their own unique environment. And then I think that's where we're at today as a society. People want that. They don't want the one size fit all community. They want that specialized community that fits their needs and their purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as we head to the Grammys, what is the core message you want to carry on the global stage when you/we receive our award?
Man, acceptance.
Yeah.
This is who I am. Don't try to change me. I think this way for a reason, and this is for all of the people who ever felt misunderstood. Never could really understand. I feel like we've neurodivergent people. We've we've lived in a gaslight of society. We've been walking around people saying, "Oh, something's wrong with you because of X, Y, and Z. You don't think a certain way." And no, I just think differently. I remember when my son first got his diagnosis. I'm a Christian and I believe in God, and I prayed and I said, God, heal him. You heal him, take this away,
Mm.
whatever the case may be. And then I heard a voice say, "What if I created him like that? What if I created him like that on purpose?"
Wow.
And that changed my um, that changed my entire perspective.
Yeah.
Now, what I would love for my son to speak, absolutely. Do I see that is in his future? Absolutely. He's been saying words like every now and then he'll surprise us with like a word, like
Yeah.
maybe a couple times a year, and we're just like, huh? But it was a reminder, like I'm listening to everything. I hear everything. I process everything, and in due time, you'll see, you'll know.
Yeah.
And and I said to myself, I'm like, yo, if that is God has this timing for my son to speak and for him to do, what he's gonna do,
Right.
that's his timing. And I'm okay with that. So my whole message is that same level of acceptance, that's what the world needs to understand about neurodivergence.
Absolutely. So, my final question is beyond the Grammys, what's the next frontier for Chris? What's your next mission?
Well, it's funny you said that. I actually been getting into like technology. I'm actually working on a project to just make a correlation between like shapes and colors with music,
Mhm.
almost like synesthesia. And I really want to use this concept in like music therapy, like ABA spaces, and have a lot of ABA centers adopt to this type of like concept and technology. So I've
Mhm.
been working on that kind of like as a side project. But I think that the music, starting the conversation in music is important. But I mean, I'm always creating music too. Like I'm that's my ADHD, like jumping from thing to thing. But um like I'm working on a new project for sure. I want to collaborate with more artists. Some are neurotypical, some neurodivergent. There are a lot of great neurodivergent artists that are amongst us that really are just amazing, and I would love to collaborate and work on more projects.
That's dope. It seems like at the very end, our sound has went out because I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect, cool.
So I want to take this time to say thank you so much for coming on the Transparency Talks podcast. This has been awesome talking to you, and
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. I'm
it
like, man,
does fly when you're having fun. Absolutely.
man.
So once you win, maybe we can get you back on the show so that we can really dive into the whole experience and everything.
For sure. For
Well,
sure. Bring them trophies. Bring them trophies back.
right, bring that trophy home.
Come on. Come
Well, I
on.
want to say thank you so much for coming on, and I will see you in LA.
I will see you in LA, and I'm gonna get with you because we're planning something special. We want to do something for just everyone involved. So you'll get to some details about that. But I'm excited.
I am too. When are you when are you getting in?
I'll be there. I'll be there Monday to Monday.
Me too.
Monday to Monday. So we
Monday
gotta
to
connect.
Monday. So we'll definitely have
And
to.
you staying downtown?
Yes, of course. I'm like right. I'm probably like a
Okay.
block away, block or
All
two
right,
away.
man. All right, all right. So yeah, same here. So we're gonna definitely connect.
Okay. Well, we are out of here, everybody. We'll talk to you guys later. Chris, you stay on, but we'll talk to you guys later. Peace, y'all.
Peace.